देख लूंगी। कोई बात ही ना।
मेरे को कोई इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है कैमरा बनाने का, मतलब मैं तो और
कितनी देर है? 5 मिनट है, मैं आऊँ?
हाँ तो क्या फटाफट हो गया। हाँ विल स्टार्ट प्रतीक सर।
हम मीटिंग स्टार्ट करना जब तक Prateek sir, we'll start the session in another 5 minutes.
Sure, ma'am, sure. I'm here.
Prateek sir,
Yes, ma'am.
you there, sir? Shall we start?
Yes, we can.
Okay, we welcome you, Prateek sir. A brief introduction about our today's speaker. Prateek sir is currently working with IIFM Bhopal, and he's a passionate teacher, mentor, and has 10 years of academic experience along with 2 years of corporate experience. He strongly believes that the true purpose of education is to make minds, not careers. He's an expert in area of education, pedagogical innovation, advertising, rural marketing, marketing of financial services, and international marketing. He has also worked with Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi, before his this current assignment. And yes, I have already shared that he is currently working with IIFM Bhopal as an associate professor, and he is, I can say, a well-known researcher in the field of marketing. So we welcome you here, Prateek sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Well, it has always been a pleasure with you all, especially my colleagues at IPS, because most of you are probably not aware that I have been an integral part of IPS family for long, right? So I worked there for 6 years. After that, I have been associated for multiple assignments with IPS. I keep on visiting there. I keep on meeting people out there. So it's like yet another session and discussion platform for me, right? So thank you so much, Kiran ma'am. I would like to thank Dr. Kushwa also for actually inviting me and giving me an opportunity to talk with you all again. Uh, so today's session would be obviously I'll be soon sharing my slide, right? But broadly talking about management 4.0, or the title or the area to which I belong, that is marketing. I'll be mainly talking of how things have changed in past a decade or so. That is what I would like to just throw a light on that, right? So that is what the first point I'll be having a discussion on. And then later on, we'll be having a discussion on how things have changed in COVID and what role now digital marketing and digital scenario, especially after COVID, will be taken care of. That will be the whole idea of the discussion, right? So around 50 minutes, I'll be talking, and then my one of my student who is also, I mean, he's an executive student, Mr. Abhishank will be talking to all of you regarding, because he belongs to that industry. So he belongs to digital marketing. He has been working in the industry for the last 10 years. So broadly, that he'll be taking care of. He'll be talking of that part, that how things will change post COVID as far as digital industry is concerned. Well, I'll prepare a platform for all of you, that what and how long we have traveled since past 10 years. That is the whole idea of my discussion will be, right? So let's begin the journey of discussion, what we have for next 2 hours, right? So broadly, my area, along with Mr. Abhishank, would be this part, that is digital marketing ecosystem, a post-COVID scenario, right? So before we discuss post-COVID scenario and digital marketing, we must understand, and we need to understand that how things have grown up, how things have changed for all of us. Just a second, let me just change. Okay. So what will be the idea would be that, just a second. Okay. So broadly, the discussion would be first revolving around how things have changed in past 10 years, and especially in past 10 months when all of us have been, have faced this part, that is your COVID, right? So broadly, my point of discussion would be what digital or social media can do for you. The first thing, right? So I'll be just having a brief discussion on one small case which I have, which is there in the which is there online, and which is very famous case for understanding what digital media can do for us. Then a brief insight into the digital medium itself, the social medium itself, and how things are changing in past 5, 6, 10 years. That will be the second point of discussion. Then I'll be talking of in the change in past 10 months, right? And what are the implications for all of us as a marketeer or as a manager or as a faculty of management discipline to talk on that, how this COVID has changed and what are the implications, especially in digital scenario for all of us. That will be the point of discussion. And then finally, I'll be just giving you a few pointers, which is the current scenario, or I would say the changing face of digital consumers. That will be the broader perspective, where I'll be just concluding my discussion, and then we'll be landing up to the second part of this session, that is with Mr. Abhishank. We'll be talking of more or less technical aspects of digital media and all that, right? So this is what the broad agenda, I would say, or the broad outline of my discussion would be. So before I start, let me just show you one video, which is a small video, just to make you understand that what digital can do for you, or all of us as a marketeer, as a faculty, as an industry people, as a manager in some at some place or whatever, right? So let me just first show you this video, and then we will be coming back to the part that is your just a second, right? So then we'll be just I'll be coming back to the second part, that is your what digital, and then the subsequent discussion regarding the same. So let's first look at this, and then we'll be having a brief discussion on the case itself, which is a very famous case of by of Iceland, right? The tourism case of Iceland that is inspired by Iceland. This is a clear picture, or this is the clear thing which shows all of us that ultimately what digital is doing for all of us. Obviously, it is a very old case that is in 2010. But the idea is just to build from there, that how things have grown up, how things have changed since last these 10 years, right? Kiran ma'am, just confirm me whether you are getting the audio or not of the video itself.
Sir, we cannot even see the video.
Achha, okay.
Sir, while sharing the screen, there are two checkbox below the screen, optimize and sound. So please click on both the
yes,
checkbox and then share.
Okay, I did it last time also. Okay, probably by after, just sharing. Okay, let me do it again.
Yes, sir. You can stop share and then you can again start screen sharing.
Okay, thank you. Is it visible now, the screen? The YouTube.
Yes, sir. The YouTube screen is visible now.
And just tell me audio so that
Audible, sir.
Okay, great. So I'm just starting it again, and then we'll have a brief discussion on this part, right?
There are warnings the debris could cause significant disruption to international services.
And thousands of travellers are camping out at airports. Biggest airspace shutdown since the Second World War.
people of Iceland have always been proud and honored to share our country with others.
I've been enjoying mostly just driving, walking in all kinds of weather in Iceland, and I feel a really strong connection to it.
Make your voice break, sing it out. Go scream through sound, make an earthquake. Your voice fire will die and turn colder. Your voice younger, 'cause you'll grow older. We should always know that we can do anything. Go drum too proud, make your hand shake, play it out.
So this is a classic just a second. This is a classic example.
How would you rate this thing? Give me the rundown.
All right, well.
You shall stop share, and
Yes,
again, you can share your PPTs.
Side yard and other side yard are all super stellar.
Nice.
And the bed has not one
So we can
mattress.
hear the YouTube audio.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wait, I had a memory foam on.
We should just bring that and put it in the car. Adding all of those factors together, I would say that 5 stars on the hotel rating.
Okay. Now what is visible, ma'am, at your end? I think.
So we can see your PPT.
Acha, okay. Now PPT. Great.
Yes.
So I hope you'd have seen this video, though the video is from 2010, right? A long back. So it has been around 11 years. But the idea to show you this is just to make you understand that what digital did for Iceland, right? So I hope most of you got it, what the video was all about, and how things changed for Iceland after the thing changed. I mean, after the whole crisis which happened during that time, right? So the first, let's first analyze what went wrong for the country. Right? There was already a financial crisis in 2009, and the then prime minister of that time, made this statement to general public that there is a real danger, fellow citizens, and if the same things continue, right, we will lead to bankruptcy. That is what in 2009 the statement was, right? And then once you were trying to come out of it, in April 2010, volcano erupted. So that's made big news. And because of all this volcanic eruption, there was negative stories, tide of negative opinions all over the world, which actually affected the air travel, the cancellation of the I would say cancellation of the programs which people across the globe have planned for tourism, right? So in short, the tourism went down like anything. So it was like the numbers were going down. That was a big issue because they were already coming out of a financial crisis. And then suddenly the thing where your whole revenue is dependent, right? That is also getting damaged. So there was a huge revenue losses for Iceland also, right? Now let's have a look what the country did and how social media, or I would say digital medium, helped them to achieve what they achieved, right? That is already visible in the I would say in the video itself. But how they responded, that is very important to understand, that what traditional media cannot do for you, social media is doing for you and will be doing for you in coming future also. Especially after COVID crisis, this has to be the case. People have to move from your traditional medium to your digital medium. That is what this case talks of. And obviously my later part of discussion where I'll be mainly talking of how COVID has changed the whole scenario. So broadly, traditional campaign would not have helped in Iceland at that time. That is what the whole idea was, because if they would have done, or if they've used traditional campaign to reach out to people, they would have lost time and they would have lost the opportunity of that year to actually call back people to the country, right? What they did this part that is inspired by Iceland. That is a very famous campaign, and the whole philosophy of that was basically unite as a country, share all of us, and then basically get rewarded. So everybody like government, people, airline, tourism companies, ad agencies, and of course they all they all joined hand to actually respond to this crisis. And the video has already shown us the results, what they actually achieved out of it. This is just a brief discussion of the model, that conventional model versus your social participation model, right? In a conventional setting, where if they would have used newspapers, they would have used say websites, if they would have used say for example your even TV programs, the target was basically tourists. Now they were targeting through this campaign the fans and people who have been either to Iceland, or they actually want to they have planned and now canceling it, or the third thing what basically that either they may plan in future. Because just remember, if they would if they would have not reverted back at the right time, then probably Iceland would have lost its charm as a tourist destination for a long period of time. Second thing, the role of the communication was basically to persuade the visitors or to persuade people to visit, while now they were actually targeting or saying in this campaign that inspire fans to participate. That is what the change has happened from the conventional model to the social participation model. Third thing which has happened is earlier they used to say, visit our country, it's beautiful, it's like this and that. Now they told that you share your own experience, you share your own story with us when you have been to Iceland, or the people who are already there, who are the residents of that country, and they want to share their story about their country. And then finally, the channel has obviously changed. The broadcast media was actually changed to people, to social media, their own social media accounts and all that. This all resulted in huge change for that year for the Iceland, for the people of Iceland, and rather of recovering the numbers, right? They actually jumped or they actually achieved more numbers as of tourism, more revenue out of tourism as compared to what they were expecting. That is what I just wanted you to understand, that this is what digital medium or digital media or social media, right? The power in our hands can do for us, right? Now, I'll take you to the second part of my discussion, that is having a detailed discussion or just to dig deeper into the insights. Again, I'll not be giving you some theory, but I'll be just giving you or showing you some facts and figures, which will probably make you understand that how things are transiting from the regular one to the second part, that is your digital part. Let's read these facts quickly because they will hardly take, I think, 2-3 minutes. There are 2 slides. I have written the year also, that which year I'm talking of. They all are taken from Google Trends, right? They all are taken from Google Trends. How Google search behavior of the people. This I'm talking of India, obviously. How the search behavior of the people have changed. I will be talking of only these 2 years, that's 2019 and 2018. I would have talked of 2020 also, but that time I'll be talking mainly of the part that is your COVID part, right? So how COVID has changed, right? Obviously, the report is available for 2020 also, that is Google search behavior. But my idea is just to make you understand, we started with 2010, then we are now with more recent part, that is your 2018 and 2019. And then later on, we'll be talking of 2020, that is how COVID has changed the overall behavior of the people. And this behavior itself says that now people are actually moving towards, as a consumer, they are moving towards, as a people, they are moving towards, as a brand, they are moving towards more and more digital consumption, right? In 2019, as compared to 2018, there was 75% year-on-year growth in near me searches, right? So whatever we do, near me hospital, near me restaurant, near me X, near me Y, that is what basically in 2019 the report showed, right? There was an 85% rise in beer shampoo, which clearly shows that in past several years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, things have been moving towards more, the guys have started keeping beard, right? There's an implication to it. I'll just let you know how this is related to the discussion which we are going on. Then 40% rise in dating related searches, 13% growth in matrimonial related searches, right? That is the various apps or the platforms which are available either on social media or your internet or online, right? 23% growth in credit and debit transactions, and 7 times increase in average transaction value of credit cards, right? Obviously, the campaign which was run by demonetization, that is one thing, and then second campaign, that is Digital India, has played a very bigger role. But broadly, things are moving towards a particular and that and is basically your this which I'm showing on slides. In the same way, in 2018 and 17, there are certain facts. The facts are many, but I'm just showing you the key facts which are more or less related to your YouTube, or I would say to digital marketing or ecosystem. So 44% searches from non-metros, that is 2018, for online education as compared to 35%. In 2017, the searches or the people were searching for online education were 35% as far as 2017 is concerned, but now 45% people. So now there is an increasing penetration of digital education or online education. This shows, and obviously if I check the figure of 2019 and 20, obviously this will be much higher as compared to the case which I'm talking of in 2017. Then interestingly, parenting has gone online, right? Because now neither father nor mother has time. So all of what they are doing is basically they all are living in metros and searching on YouTube to take care of their baby and buying decisions also, right? Food ordering has grown to 70% in 2018 as compared to 2017, that is previous years. And then finally, this 100% growth in regional entertainment. So people have started shifting from Hindi or English to their regional content, which is now available at multiple of platforms, whether you talk of internet, whether you talk of OTT, whether you talk of social media, this is available. So people have started now getting inclined towards this regional content, right? All these two facts say you something about the digital market. That I'm just going back to the previous slides. That is what digital marketing is now happening or going into what direction. Then now let's come to the last part. I would say last in the sense 2020 year. That is how the whole year was actually covered with pandemic, right? Now, how this pandemic has changed, that also we need to understand, because one thing is clear from 2010, which I talked of international example or the case of Inspired by Iceland. Obviously, we all were we all were feeling this change of people moving from one end to another end. How digital or the pandemic has changed, then finally I'll conclude with 4, 5, 6 points, which this whole discussion which we have made so far is basically taking us to the next level, that is digital marketing, I would say, or digital ecosystem, and how this pandemic will change this digital ecosystem forever, not for temporary purpose, but for a long period of time. I'm giving you a small activity just to guess all of you. Don't use your mobile phones or internet. Do one thing. I'm giving you 5 minutes to fill this chart, right? I'm giving you all this, just the 5 minutes to fill this chart. This all is the small and interesting data. This all is basically the small and interesting data which you need to fill. And let me know later on. I'll be just coordinating with some of you, or will be talking to some of you just to make me understand that what is your opinion. But again, if you'll use a mobile phone or if you'll use internet, then you will miss the fun, right? So just take 2-3 minutes. What you're supposed to do is, I have written certain statements and I have made the space blank, right? That is percentage space. Growth in searches for 5 minutes recipes. There is a space and percentage, right? What you're supposed to do in COVID period, that is in past 10 months, according to you, what percentage growth 5-minute recipes, the people have started searching for 5-minute recipes. What is the expected growth according to you? Just make a wild guess, even 50%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 120%, right? Just make a wild guess. The answers will surprise you. Obviously, all are not, all are positive. They are not negative. On a negative side, all have grown. That is what the examples I have taken, right? How to pay electric bill online grew by, according to you, in past 10 months. I'm repeating, I'm just mentioning these past 10 months. I'm not giving it the data from 2010 to 2020 that how things have changed. I'm talking of past 10 months only, since March, April 2020 till I would say around December 2020, right? So according to you, how much change would have happened? That is one thing which I want from you. Parallelly, look at your end at the slides, or I would at the bullets, just to make you understand what things are changing, right? How people are changing their routine and where they are devoting their most of the time. That is what the whole idea of this discussion is, right? Surge in YouTube subscribers base. Before COVID, say for example, there were X people who have subscribed to YouTube or any of the YouTube channel. How much increase is there broadly as a subscriber base in this past 10 months? And then growth in OTT subscription, obviously it has to be positive, because during lockdown, whatever we did was either online, that is your social media, or on YouTube, or on basically OTT. Then average time spent on social media platforms, right? I'm not talking of internet, I'm talking of social media platforms. According to you, what is this average time now as compared to the previous time, that is versus I have written. So for example, earlier say it was X hours, now according to how many hours it is. Viewership of DIY, that is do-it-yourself face mask doing tutorials since March 15. This I'm talking of March 15 in the sense March 15th of March. How many of million of times this one typical video has been watched, or people have actually gone to YouTube and searched for this, that how to prepare our own mask. And then UPI transaction value jumped by how much percentage? That is the thing, right? So broadly, this is just to make you understand how things started in 2010. Obviously, before that also digital was there, but prominently in 2012 things have, in 2010 and after that things have changed for India. Then secondly, just we talked of in brief about the facts which were available in Google report in 2018 and 19. And then finally, I'm lending up you here, that is the last slide in the sense, last part of my trend discussion, so that I can come to the insights out of this discussion. Now let me show you the answers. Just match it with you, with your answers, or the things which you have delivered. There was a 56% rise in the Google searches or for 5-minute recipes, or YouTube searches for 5-minute recipes. Overall recipe searches grew by 22% during, especially during lockdown period. How to pay electric bills. People have now started using online apps or online networking, online platforms, or even the websites of the service provider itself, and that is by 180%. So for example, before COVID, say one person was doing it, now 180 people are actually doing it, going online to pay the bill. They don't want to stand in the line. They want to avoid crowd and that all, right? In the same way, YouTube subscriber base approximately 30%, and OTT subscription has been, there is a rise or growth of 60%. Earlier, people used to spend 1.5 hours on social media platform. I'm talking of social media, not internet or online. Now their average spending is basically 4 hours. Then this DIY face mask wala thing, that is 400 million times the people have watched this video. Even this number would have increased by now, because the time when I have taken this fact, probably now this number would have been increased. And then finally, UPI transaction value jumped by 105%, right? In short, whatever we have discussed so far, whether you talk of this part, or you talk of these facts, or you talk of the first thing which I talked of, that is 2010, the case of inspired by Iceland, right? They all are telling you one thing, that which is obvious also to all of us, that now things are moving from, more or less moving from traditional thing to the second part, that is your digital part, right? How this digital will, what shape this digital will take, what are the implications for the brands, That is very important to understand. But yes, before that, we need to understand that how things have changed in past so many years or one decade. And that is what basically I have talked so far, right? Now for next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll be mainly talking of my summary or concluding remarks, or I would say how this whole thing has changed the consumer behavior. To be specific, the digital consumer behavior or the digital consumer face for all of us, right? Especially for the faculty, especially for the brands, especially for the people or the managers who are involved in marketing. This is very important to understand that how things have changed in past so many years and how things will change in future. This is what insight I'll be trying to give you on this part, right? The first word or the bullet I have written is basically your disruption, right? This whole digital scenario, all this social media, WhatsApp, Instagram, and all that, they all have disrupted not only the technological environment, but they have also disrupted the business environment. They have disrupted the marketing environment. Earlier, the people were very successful using the traditional tools, but now they cannot be, especially after this pandemic crisis, especially after the disruption which is created by, I would say, this pandemic, right? This has to be, we have to embrace this digital tools and techniques. Earlier, the things were, I would say, were related to social media. Now this social media has changed to this social media, right? There's a difference between the two which I have written. Earlier, social media was actually for social purpose, right? Earlier, social media was actually for social purpose, but now this media part has taken a bigger share of that social media as compared to the first part. Earlier, the social media like Orkut, or I would say Facebook, when I'm talking of 2010, 2011, 20, right? The marketeers have not looked the potential of this. That's why I first marked social. I have kept it in capital letters, and I have kept it basically underlined, right? This has been changed to the second portion. That transition has already taken place in past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Especially after COVID, this social media has now become the second part. That's why now social has its own importance, no doubt, but now it has become media. Now, even if you daily, on a daily basis, if you visit Instagram, if you visit any other social platform, right? You will watch all the celebrities and other people and other influencers to use their social media to influence our thought process. That is what the new thing is changing, right? So in short, I would say social media is still social, but its media element has taken the bigger role, or I would say the bigger picture has done it, right? That's why social has been replaced by social media, and that too media has become, it has now become a prominent media for the marketers. 4G and beyond, now we are in a phase where the 5G and then 6G and then for subsequently all these things will be happening, right? So this 4G and beyond, that is broadband for the masses, right? What Geo did, I would say, I'll just put it in a way that the Geo revolution, right? I'll just put it, or I'll just keep it in name it as Geo revolution, right? That has the next thing which has happened, that is this 4G and all these telecom services have changed totally the scenario. They have played a bigger role to make people access the content which is available online, right? This has happened after 2016. That's why I'm talking of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That is another thing which is happening. And because of this change, marketeers have deep implications to reach out to the masses earlier, which was not possible, or which was possible only through traditional media, right? This, I would say, this one time, this dish was did the same thing, right? Even we saw the dish at Tabriz. We saw the dish TV I'm talking of. We saw the dishes on small in small villages, on small houses, Tata Sky and all that, right? That is what that dish TV did. Now this digital is doing, right? Another interesting thing, which is a change in the face of digital consumer. Now people have started, or people have moved from this 60 seconds to the next part, that is 6 seconds. Obviously, you all will agree to this. Our span or attention span has reduced drastically, right? Earlier, we used to enjoy watching 60 seconds, 45 seconds advertisements online. Now just have a look at the second part. Now we skip. Obviously, we cannot skip on TV. What we can do is we can surf. We can change the channel. But again, on the second channel also things were happening. But the same thing is possible is in on internet, right? On internet, on YouTube, on Facebook, this is possible because we have, I mean, the people as we as consumers have reduced our attention span. That is another thing which has happened. And since it has happened, right? Since it has happened, so marketeers are also understanding this. Therefore, they are changing their strategy from engaging people to for 60 seconds to the second part, that is your 6 seconds. That is how it is happening, right? This has led to the rise of, I'll just give you a few terms. This has given to the rise of, say, short video phenomenon, right? So whenever now we log in or we watch some videos on YouTube, we first see the ad. There are two types of ad. One is skippable, which can be skipped in 6, 7, 8 seconds. While the another part is which cannot be skipped, right? But they only run for 6 seconds because people know that now, marketeers know that now people can only look at you or look at your brand or look at the content which you're delivering only for 6 seconds. That is what the whole idea is, has happened, right? There is an emergence of listicles. There is an emergence of, I would say, in short, you would have seen of this website, you would have enrolled yourself to this website, in short. So making even newspaper less than 60 words, that is what these brands are doing, right? There is a new trend which is happening because of this 60 to 6 seconds. This all is happening because of simple reason, that attention to span. The new trend is social journalism, right? So I'm talking of, say, listicles, I'm talking of social journalism, I'm talking of in shorts, which is nothing but which proves that now people are moving and actually having lesser span or attention span, and that's why they are even the marketeers are working in that direction, right? This can be understood with very simple example. Now, whenever we chat on WhatsApp or any other media which you use, right, we have started using emojis. Gone are the days when we used to type, say or write down everything that yes, I am okay or what. If I want to say okay, I'll just raise the thumb. If I want to say something, if I want to show that I'm angry, I'll be just using another emoticon to actually tell the samne wala that this is what the things have changed. In short, since our attention span has changed or has reduced drastically, the same has happened for the other person. He has no time to read out throughout the content, or I would say throughout the message which you are sending. And since they do not have any time, right? And that's why the discussion is going in that direction, that is through emoticons, right? So broadly, this trend, I have marked these two things which are the future, I would say. And probably Abhishank will tell us more about this, that basically how, as an industry expert, as an industry person, how things are changing at the current scenario. That is what the whole idea is, right? And then finally, it is not only for marketeers, but it has changed for consumers. It has changed for financial companies also. That's why the second last point, that is fintech, bringing the unbanked into formal economy. That is what all these brands like Paytm, Google Pay, GPay, right? All these have done, right? What all they have done, that is very clear to all of us, that they have actually brought in the people from the bottom of the pyramid to the mainstream of the economy, right? Still, banks are not available at many places, but mobile phones are. And since mobile phones are available, the apps like YONO, the apps like SDFC Zep, or whatever you talk of, or even the non-banking apps, they all are basically available in the hands of our people at bottom of the pyramid. And that has also helped people to change their consumer or consumerism, right? And then finally, today this is the era of mass customization of everything, that is data and insights. Just recall what all these big brands, that is Google, or say, for example, your Apple or Facebook or Insta, all these are doing, right? They are showing you the targeted content, which is also so-called geo-targeting, right? That's a term called geo-targeting. Now you get the advertisements, you get the hints of your purchase on this on all these social medias, because they all are able to track your data, set algorithm in place so that they can actually give you revert back with the specialized or specific data sets or specific promotional activities, right? So for example, I frequently search on Bollywood songs on YouTube, and that too of specific genre, right? So I frequently get all that whenever I again open my YouTube and just look out for a particular song, right? This is what the next thing which these people are doing using data. They are actually inferring some insights and giving back to you as a consumer, which is so called in marketing terms, or I would say in advertising terms, it is called geo-targeting, targeting specific set of people with specific set of data or the content, right? That's why I've written it is though for masses, but it is customized. So you are actually now able to, because of digital tools and all that, you are able to customize for masses. That is what the whole individual, even I'll be getting different, promotional campaigns as compared to you people, as compared to X or Y or whatever, right? This is what digital has done for all of us, right? So in short, what I talked of is basically I started with the case, small case, which actually let us know that what digital can do for us. If it can, it can do for inspired. That is what it is doing for all of us. That is one case only. There are many examples which tells that how basically your digital medium can help you to reach out to the right set of audience. Then we talked of certain facts and figures using Google Trends to make you understand that how consumer behavior is changing, right? And how they all are trending or heading towards the digital consumption, more and more digital consumption. A small discussion on the third part, that is your, I would say COVID, that is COVID scenario, how COVID has changed the overall marketing scenario. And post that, how things will change for a marketeer, for we as a consumer, and for managers and CEOs or the top people who are actually dealing with that, right? Now, the next part of discussion would be taken care by Mr. Abhishek. He is Associate Director at Genesis BCW. He'll be talking mainly about the digital ecosystem, extending from here, and then taking it to the next level at how things are changing, and what, as a marketeer, we people can use as a marketing faculty or even as a marketeer, what we can use basically to reach out to the target audience, right? That is what the next part. Mr. Abhishek will be there. Abhishek, I hope you are there. Okay.
Yes, sir. Hi.
Great.
I
Hello.
am. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Should I just start immediately?
Abhishek, I think Dr. Gihani will just introduce you formally to the
Sure.
panel.
Pratik sir, I would request you to please read the Abhishek sir's profile if possible. And Abhishek sir, I would request you to please switch on your video so that we can bring you in the spotlight.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Sure, sir.
It's been a chaotic morning, so give me 1 second to be ready.
Abhishek,
but
thank
yeah,
you
please.
so much for finding time, because I know it is basically it's a day working day for you, right? So Abhishek is associate partner digital at Genesis person. Is passionate individual who believes in self motivation and self improvement, right? This I can I totally agree with the point which is written there. He started his professional journey is an ideal example of marketing communication industry has been evolving over years. So he has been watching this industry since inception, I would say, or not, if not inception, then see for a long period of time, right? A well-rounded business leader, he has led some of the most creative and impactful campaigns, not just won awards, but also delivered measurable business value to his clients, right? He owns, to his credit, 2020 PR and Corporate Communication Award, which is again a very prestigious award, and 2018 Social and 30 Under 30. So Abhishek has been, I have seen Abhishek for past, we are in contact, we are in touch for past, I would say, around 2 years, I think, 2.5 years. And he has taken many sessions for me also in my course at IFT or even probably at IFM. That is what, as far as I know, Abhishek, he is an expert in this area, which is visible in his deliverables also. So Abhishek, now over to you, not taking much of your time.
Thank you so much. And I am not at all an expert. I don't think anyone can be an expert in such a dynamic field when you talk about marketing, digital marketing, especially. I'm a student of the game, but I have been fortunate to work on some really interesting projects and also deliver some lectures as well for the past 1.5 odd years. And that's really helped me take my learnings forward, because when you interact with these brilliant students and answer their questions, etc. It's a very different ball game, and I genuinely respect and kudos to all the professors out there. I think it's a very different ball game altogether to kind of prepare for a session, be ready with all the answers that the students might have, and do it in a way that it's entertaining also, especially during these times, because the whole physical connection kind of has gotten lost. So everything has to be done through virtual. So again, really high respect for every lecturer and professor out there, and all my teachers also. I can say that. I have a presentation that I would want to present to you guys, and it will specifically talk about how things have really changed specifically during the COVID era, how brands have really coped with it. And I will also talk about a storytelling mechanism that I focus on, which I feel really can help. And this is also keeping in mind what Prateek sir was specifically talking about, that yes, the attention span is going down, but we also need to remember that the overall size of the audience base has been increasing by a very, very huge margin. So currently there are close to around 600 million all internet users in India, 400 million social media users. So there are a lot of people. I believe it's about how do we cut through that clutter, reach out to them, and do it in a way that it's entertaining also. So, but also again keeping in mind the COVID situation that we are all in. So just give me a second. Let me just quickly share my screen, and I will really appreciate if someone can just let me know if they can see my screen as well.
So the screen is visible.
Great. I'm just okay. Great. Okay, I am on full presentation mode. Just confirm this also, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So we'll specifically, like I said, we will specifically talk about the biggest thing that has happened in, I don't know, at least in my lifetime, and how this has really disrupted everything, not just marketing or communications, but business as a whole, life as a whole. We know the situation, right? I mean, I'm assuming hopefully the situation is getting a bit better, but what it has really resulted into is that the way we used to kind of live and work, etc., has completely changed. And this is something that I have been saying since the beginning of the pandemic, that it definitely isn't a temporary disruption, because what it has really done is it has resulted into that paradigm shift in how we live and how organizations across the world, irrespective where they are, do businesses. So again, how do we work? We learn, socialize, shop, connect, contribute to the economy, among multiple other things, have completely changed to what it used to be in 2019. And I think it is safe to say that while we hopefully will go back to the things that how we used to do things earlier, but the new normal, so to say, is not going to be the same. So it's going to be a mix of everything that we have done in 2020, with obviously a few very important aspects from 2019 and before that. The new normal, I feel we can specifically focus on three specific areas. One is more from a digital solutions perspective. The second one is remote working. And again, we might, like I said, again, things might improve, but you must have seen a lot of companies around the world have said that they will be working from anywhere. It's not just work from home, it's work from anywhere. And that's indefinite now. And the last bit is more from a contactless operations perspective. I'm sure there are experts who will be able to really talk about how this has impacted supply chain management, among other things, but we will still touch upon a few aspects of it. When we specifically focus on the changing consumer behavior, because I believe it's important, from a consumption perspective, most of the things have shifted to everything. And we have seen that trend. Not, it was always there for your younger audience base, but this has especially increased for the older generation also. And we can say that this was a necessity, because the older generation, especially say 40 plus, 50 plus, they are much more exposed to the virus, and they are much more at where they can be actually be affected by it or impacted by it. So there has been that larger change that has happened. We have seen how grofers or any other business has really flourished during that time. The second aspect which I thought is important is more from an entertainment perspective, because yes, we are going to be spending this much amount of time and all those lines between work and life and everything is blurred. But what has also resulted into is that the online consumption or the video consumption or streaming consumption has increased many folds. And this is not just limited to your platforms which are already famous, like say a Netflix or a Hotstar, but we have seen a lot of local players emerging, especially in the regional space also, that are really leveraging this situation and are creating content. What it also means is that the way the theaters are going to be showcasing movies is also going to change. The way we are going to be consuming information or entertainment is not just going to be limited here, but it'll keep on changing. And again, I think one of the interesting aspects is the user generated content, which is UGC, how that has increased, because people still need to share their opinions. I believe that's one of the most basic characteristics of any human, and that just comes naturally that you would want to talk about what we feel with all these isolations and us not maybe be in the same theater or not exposed to a match, let's say for example, which is going on right now at that large scale that we were used to earlier from a physical setup. We would still want to share what we feel like, and we are doing it virtually. So again, the virtual consumption has resulted into more social media consumption as well from that perspective. Relationships have definitely changed. I think again, from a personal perspective, we all are, whoever was staying away, we were all craving to be with the families. Those who were with them, were looking at other ways to connect with friends and relatives, etc. But one of the things from a consumption perspective, which I believe is very interesting to note, and this is something that we are working for one of our clients as well, is from a gaming perspective. If you look at the gaming industry in India, it always has been booming with a very strong base, but it always has been niche. In 2020, what we have seen is interacting with these gamers and influencers also. It's not just that their community size has increased by a huge margin, but what they're also looking at is there are a lot of new players who are emerging and are establishing themselves as gamers or influencers in this space, which also means that we have more people to reach out to really communicate the message that we have. Going from gaming to health, as much as they are different from each other, the trends absolutely are the same. You look at CultFit, how they were able to leverage the whole lockdown period to create conversations around their business and get more subscriptions. You talk about any of the healthcare brands apart from this, how they have emerged or how they have really evolved in their communication. I believe it's just phenomenal to see how it was always out there going virtual, but because of 2020, with all bad things that happened, it really helped us reach out to an audience space that was untapped earlier. The same situation is with work and education. I don't think there is any thing that I can add to what we already understand and feel about, keeping in mind the situation that we are all in. This could have been or would have been ideally a physical session wherein all of us would have been in the same room talking to each other. but we are doing it virtually. Yes, there are issues in terms of making sure that you are always connected and you're listening and you're not getting distracted by all the other things that are basically going on around in your house. But what it also has done is it has got us exposed to this this really important point, that why would we just limit the attendance to a particular location only, when we can actually make it more of a larger state, multi-state or India specific event, or a session. The and apart from that, obviously the money and the logistics and whatnot that we are able to save, I believe there is no contest there, that it obviously really helps from that perspective also. News and information has been a very specific concern for a long time. If you have been following US related news, you would know how it created a lot of disruption in terms of the government that they have, and how everything was basically going on. What we know of right now, and again this is after conversations with both Facebook, Twitter, etc., is that they're getting really strict, and they're not just saying things that they're getting strict, but they're actually getting really strict in terms of what can be promoted, what can't be promoted, even if there is an image. And this is again a very recent example of, that we were struggling with for the past 2 days, is that if you have an image also of a prominent politician who is, say for example, attending your event, and you're trying to promote it on social media, it will get rejected because it is considered as a political content piece or an election related content piece, even though you're not mentioning anything like that. So I think there is a lot of changes that have happened. I believe the only thing that we can do is keep checking the facts, keep making sure that the source is fine. Ask if someone WhatsApps some information to us and says that XYZ thing has happened or XYZ thing is going to happen. I believe the best thing is, and this is something that I do, I just kind of just copy paste the same thing on Google just to check if there is any news related to it, and not just news, but is there relevant news which is authentic related to it. And that's something that I think we need to pass on as we move forward, and brands are also doing their best currently to kind of tackle it in the best way. Again, guys, if you'll have any specific question or anything, or even if you will have a specific take on it, because I believe all of us are exposed to all these things in their own in our own way, please do feel free to stop me in between and we can get into that discussion. If not, I will talk about how brands have adapted to this particular challenge. There are going to be a couple of videos as a part of the session. So if you're not able to hear the audio, please do let me know and we can fix it quickly. Here's the first video. This is Sky Scanner, by the way. It's not an India brand. It's a Europe-based brand. And they are basically very similar to what a Make My Trip is, by the way. And I have taken this example because this example will touch upon a few things, and I will talk about it once we watch the video. But again, Skyscanner is a Make My Trip for the European market, and they're into travel related e-commerce.
Abhishek, the audio is not there. We are not able to hear this.
Got it. No problem. Just 1 second, please. Is it there now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to play it again. Guys, there's some noise that you must be hearing in the background. I'm sorry, there is some work that has been going on in the neighborhood, and so please do excuse me for the noise that is coming. Again, one of the challenges working virtually. Please do excuse me for that. I'm going to play the video again. I'm sure we'll all have our own perspective and take for on this particular video, but this was, by the way, peak pandemic, wherein everything was locked worldwide. It was locked down, and this is what they came up with. So the purpose was just to obviously remain in news, because I mean, I believe all of us will agree that aviation, travel, tourism industry is the one of the most impacted because of this particular pandemic. But what I really like about this video, and that's why I thought of sharing it here, is the fact that, first of all, the images that you see are all images that are, or videos are basically all they're not shot anything. Basically, it's all the images or videos that they already would have had in their data bank, and mostly are from the users or community or influencers who had traveled and actually had shared it. That's one. Secondly, the message that they are focusing on, which was absolutely in line with what we wanted to convey at that point of time, that yes, we are going to be traveling again. Yes, we will go out and we will do everything that we want to do. But currently, it's about time that we come together and stay where we are, because things definitely are going to get better. So I thought that it's a very nice way of going about it, and also with very limited investment, so to say, to remain in news and make sure that you are communicating what you stand for as a brand, and not just as the business entity which is there to get profits. This one is quite popular, and there are two reasons to it. Two reasons why I have it. One is obviously the copy. I think the way it's written, again, is very clearly calls out what we want to communicate during that time, which is social distancing. And social distancing has been done in two ways here. One is through the visual. If you will see Coca-Cola, how there is a gap between each of the letters to showcase that we need to maintain a distance. And the second part is reassuring or reaffirming the same thing by mentioning the copy which you see below that, which says staying apart is the best way to stay united. So I thought that again, as a brand, yes, you would want profits to happen for you, but when you do something like this, people remember it. And that's where you are able to cut through that clutter of noise and content pieces that brands are throwing at you, and this is what will really help differentiate from the rest of the community or the noise that is out there. Here's another one. This is an Indian example, by the way. Bingo. We all know obviously about Bingo. I am assuming we've also tried the chips as well. But Bingo has a property which is called Comedy Adda. Now the property's basic point was, and this was before COVID, obviously, in 2019 specifically, they used to tour various cities in India and used to organize these stand-up comedy shows there. So that was basically the whole point of it. They had comedians who would talk about it, and kind of linked back to what Bingo is all about, which is doing something different, and which is all about being cheeky and humorous and whatnot, which is what the brand's tonality, so to say, is all about. Obviously, they were not able to do it in 2020. So what they did was they worked with the same set of stand-up comedians to actually create visual video content, which went on their YouTube channel. So if right now you will go to Bingo YouTube, you will not just see this video that I'm going to play right now, but you will see multiple other videos in terms of how they leverage the community that they already had created, but use them for virtual or social content during this time. Here's the video.
Bingo Comedy Adda. Hey guys, my name is Gaurav Kapoor and I'm your favorite heritage travel blogger. And this time we are going to go and have a lot of fun in one of the favorite destinations of Indians and foreigners in India, and that is our very own Goa. इस बार मैं जाऊंगा गोवा में बहुत सारी मजे मारूंगा और मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ गोवा में अगर आप कभी भी जाओ ना, आपको अपने साथ में हमेशा इस तरीके का बैग लेके जरूर घूमना चाहिए, क्योंकि इससे आप बहुत ही कूल लगते हो, आप इससे एकदम पूरा फिरंगी लगते हो। बैग में मेरे कुछ भी नहीं, 2 सामान है, मैं आपको दिखा दूं मेरे बैग में क्या क्या पड़ा है। एक तो मेरे बैग में पड़ा है ये केला, क्योंकि गोवा इंसान या तो बाइक से घूमता है या पैदल घूमता है, so I'm gonna have a lot of fun on feet in Goa, so I need this thing for energy, so I'm gonna go and explore this Goa on bicycle. Let's go and enjoy Goa. Hey, so much fun riding a bicycle in Goa. Hey. Hey guys, welcome to my
He's having a massage here, obviously at home, while kind of saying that he is basically there. I'll just play the last part of the video.
Right outside a club in Baga Beach, and I'm gonna go inside and enjoy. Baga Beach इसलिए क्योंकि मेरे को बहुत mainstream जगह है, बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है. Let's go and we'll make vlog about our partying also.
The video goes on, and again, if you will see, there are quite a few other videos like this as well. Again, I'll tell you the objective. I have this video here. I kind of talked about it, but I feel that it's a humorous way to actually engage with an influencer while you are giving the influencer full freedom. And that's a very important word here, full freedom to create the content that he's comfortable with, and he also feels will work with the audience space that they have. So I thought it's a very interesting way of going about it, still utilizing your talent and still kind of links back to what your brand stands for, because at the end of the day, that's very important. And again, I have a very specific section that will specifically touch upon that aspect also. This is McDonald's, by the way. And while obviously, a lot of people were struggling to get their groceries, there were a lot of old people who were maybe alone at their places because their families maybe were at a different place, especially how the culture is in the US or a UK market. This is what McDonald's did. They used their employees to actually help whoever needed help in their specific communities. And while that was going on, they shared those posts and those positive testimonials and videos, etc., on this microsite that was created, which specifically talked about how the Mc family is there to support the community. I believe it's just such a brilliant idea, because again, we are going beyond profits and losses, and this kind of an initiative will really stay with the larger audience base or your set of consumers that are there, and they will be more loyal to the brand because they know that the brand will help their communities whenever there is a requirement. And that's what is a difference between any brand and a brand which actually is connected with the audience base. This is Nike as example, very similar to the Coca-Cola one, playing with the copy, not focusing on visuals or videos or doing extravagant things, but specifically focusing on what they stand for, but linking it with what exactly is the messaging at that point of time. Here, the messaging was, they always stand for go outside, play, do whatever that you would want to. Here they were saying play inside, and that's how you can play for the world, which actually means that you can make the world safer during this time. This is again an India example, Swiggy, specifically coming up, with this really interesting idea, which was that I believe all of us are familiar with this, with potlucks, wherein I will make something and say, for example, a couple of people, friends and families will make their own food and dishes, and we'll all come together at one place, and then we will have like a proper party, or we'll have fun together. Obviously, because of COVID, it wasn't possible to do it. Hopefully now it's still better, so it can, but at that point it wasn't. What they did was they said that we will do a virtual potluck. So there are two parts of it, and it's all mentioned here. If you will see, you make the food, you contact Swiggy, they will send their Swiggy the riders that they have. The rider will share the food with your friends or families, whoever that you would want it to reach. Then you do a virtual potluck or a virtual get together, so to say, to actually enjoy the food. So Swiggy basically becomes a medium to actually connect you during those times, and I feel that's a great idea. And again, it goes back to the fact that maybe not a lot of people were willing to order food online during that time, but if they will do something like this, they will have that larger recall of Swiggy than maybe any other brand, and they would want to order from Swiggy when things are better. This is a Kotak Mahindra Bank example. They used their influencer or celebrity or ambassador Ranveer Singh to actually not just communicate something more from a superficial perspective, but how it resulted into a business change. Remember just one thing: people, the opening an account will be the last thing on your mind. Was last thing on your mind in 2020 might be the last thing on your mind right now also, to avoid all the queues, to avoid all the back and forth, among other things. This is how they thought they can address that.
Ready for video KYC, ma'am?
Can you see me and hear me clearly, sir?
Absolutely, loud and clear. वैसे आपका मास्क काफी cool लग रहा है.
Thank you, sir. Can you please confirm the city in your Aadhaar card address?
Amchi, Mumbai.
And your PIN code?
400025.
Birth date?
6 July 1985. Umar, 34 साल. Right?
May I take a photograph?
Pose करने के लिए तो मैं ever ready.
Thank you, sir.
Oh.
Perfect. Please, can you hold your PAN card?
Okay.
Just give me a minute to verify.
Yeah, sure. Take your time. आजकल तो time ही time है. अरे आजकल तो time है. आजकल तो time.
Could you sign a blank paper and hold it up?
बड़े दिन हो गए ऑटोग्राफ दिए.
Video KYC call done.
Done.
Welcome to Kotak 811.
अरे तो एक बार बोल दीजिए ना मैम, बहुत दिन हो गए सुना नहीं.
What, sir?
Back up! Kotak 811, India's first zero contact video KYC savings account.
So you talked about how everything has changed and it has brought in a paradigm shift in how we live and how businesses operate. I believe this is a very, very good example in terms of showcasing how a particular organization had to change the way it it communicates or it actually does business, and do it in a very entertaining manner. What you see here in the video, involving a celebrity to get the larger surround sound around the particular announcement or initiative. So I thought it's a very, very interesting idea. We touched upon a few takeaways, but these are quite important takeaways. And again, I feel these are very much relevant, especially in 2021, with all the brands now really ramping up their digital. I'm not saying that they were not doing digital. I'm saying they're ramping up their digital because we can kind of divide the brands also in multiple levels and brackets. There were always those brands who were already evolved and understood the importance of digital and were already doing it in the best way possible. There were other brands who were doing it in a good way, in a decent manner, keeping in mind a good mix between traditional and digital. And there were brands who were doing it just for the sake of it, because hey, why not? Let's do it because everyone else is doing. And there were others who were still skeptical, kind of doing something but not regular. I'm not even talking about those brands who are not at all present on social. But what it's really done is everyone has really relooked at their digital approach, because they do understand that they will have limited budgets in 2021 also, and it's critical or imperative for us to make sure that there is a plan of action wherein we are able to do the same thing, reach out to same or more people, deliver if not the same but similar kind of results at a very limited budget if we do it virtually. The other aspect is, and again, it links back to what you were discussing in the beginning, work from anywhere, 30%, 20%, 50%, employees to be coming to offices, among other things. the safety of employees and consumers has taken priority in terms of how the packaging is changed, in terms of how communication has changed, in terms of what brands are doing. We especially see it on a brand like Zomato. If you open the Zomato app, you will see, if you go to a restaurant, you will see what are the kind of measures that they are following, the processes that they have, etc., to make sure that the food delivered to you is safe. The same aspect applies from an employee perspective also. There are multiple things that have been taken care by each and every organization, especially the bigger organizations, to make sure that their employees don't feel that they are not safe in a working environment right now. I believe it's also important to kind of keep a track of trends and build scenarios, because there are a few trends that are, like we discussed, long term, that will stay with us in 2021 and beyond as well. But there are a few which might not, which are very short term because of a very specific situation that we are into right now. One of them, I feel personally, is the fact that everything will be just virtual. It was in 2020, obviously, because it was a necessity. But as we move forward, expecting everything to be virtual might not work, because when offices open, when people start going out, they would want to also meet, interact, and go back to the earlier normal that was there. So if a brand is in that space, how do they really communicate in the right way? I believe it's going to be really important. I think what will be really important to also understand is how the strategy of OTT platforms really changes now that we see theaters have started opening up. How will the approach of airlines industry is going to keep on evolving as we move forward, to make sure that they are able to convey to the larger set of employees who might be really not sure about, maybe say the vaccine at the moment, and what will happen once we all take the vaccine. What will be the trends that we will see from an aviation or a health or a hospitality space? So I believe there is we need to kind of divide the trends more from a long term perspective and from a short term perspective, rather than just looking at them in one go, because that will not be the right approach as we move forward. Again, a very dynamic way of thinking and strategizing. There has been this contactless operations going on already, but it is only increasing. And again, the brands who will take that step and will do it, irrespective how they implement it in their larger scheme of operations, will really benefit them, because if they are doing it as a first, they always have an early mover advantage. If they are doing it with very specific measures and very specific USPs, that's always a great way to communicate to audience, because again, like we were just talking about, the audience would want to know how the brands are making sure that the consumer's safety is first. The second aspect is that the the there will be this transition in conversations around adapting to the new normal that will keep on basically going on. And what that really means is that, just like we were discussing, every brand is in a very different stage altogether in terms of their communication, their business, their way of thinking, their vision, etc. There will be some brands who will be struggling because they are in the survival mode. There are brands, and it also has to do with the industry that they are part of, who have done exceptionally well, who would want to maintain the same. So I believe what will be important here is to make sure that what redefine what new normal is for each of the brands, for each of the individuals also, because we all have our own struggles, we all have our own advantages that we are living with. And how are we really able to link everything together to make sure that we are also communicating it in the right way to our audience base? With that said, storytelling, like we talked about, is going to be a key. We saw that with the Kotak Mahindra example. They wanted to specifically talk about the fact that you can now create your account virtually in just a few seconds. But the way they communicated it was the story that they wanted to share to make it more engaging rather than just informational, so that more and more people actually get to understand it in an easy manner, but also it's shareable. The same logic applies with the Swiggy, applies with the Coca-Cola, Nike, among any other brands that we just talked about. So to kind of deep dive into this particular aspect, this is the model that I follow. So you will see two slides which is something that I personally follow, and I encourage people around me to also follow, because I feel that these two aspects can really work wonders for a brand. We will call it the 1-10-100 model. The one is the brand's messaging. What do we stand for? What exactly are we planning to communicate? Basically, what is the objective that we have, or why do we exist? If you're very clear about this, we are able to get the right story in place and are able to share it from the right touch point. Now, what do I mean by touch points here? Touch points could be, say, for example, a video like we saw for a Sky Scanner or for a Kotak. It could be say, for example, a post that we do. It could be a hoarding like we just saw for Coca-Cola. It could be influencer outreach, or working with other stakeholders who can communicate our message, especially like we saw with Bingo, among other examples. So again, it's more about, it could be a social media channels, it could be website, or it could be anything that you basically have wherein you feel how you can reach out to your audience base. And 100 obviously is your larger set of audience base. Again, we are not taking the numbers literally 1, 10 or 100, but figuratively, to be on the same page in terms of how there is a snowball effect, but it also is very specific to what exactly are we planning to communicate and through which channels to reach out to our audience base. If you would allow, I will give one example and then I'm going to show an example also. We will go back to an example that we actually just saw, which is the Kotak Mahindra example. The one there is very specific. Kotak Mahindra Bank is coming up with, you can create a virtual banking account in just a few seconds. You don't have to go to a bank, like a physical bank, to actually get it done. There is very, very limited time that you will spend on this, very less back and forth. You just have to have some very specific documents and you should be done. This is a very basic breakdown of what they wanted to communicate. And if that is what my one is, they created a story, but 10 will be where I'm going to be sharing it. So for me, my brand's touch points are going to be, one, I would want to do it through an influencer, a celebrity especially, because that will help me reach out to a much larger audience base, because they already have a very strong audience base. So Ranveer Singh was one of the touch points. The second, there was the social media channels that they used to share this video. The third would have been, maybe they would have put it on the website. The fourth would have been that they would have also leveraged other influencers to talk about it, among other things. So again, it's all about what is your message? How are we really able to communicate it to reach out to the larger audience base? Guys, if you, again, anyone, if you have any specific take on this or a question, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will move to the next slide. Okay. While 1-10-100 model, I believe, is great because it gives you a 30,000 view. This one is very specific because these are the three, I call it the 3-question framework model, wherein I specifically focus on breaking down what exactly are we planning to do or we are trying to do. It focuses on first, what is the story, what you see in green. So basically there are two parts to it. What is the story is, again, going back to the examples that we saw, in a very black and white, factually correct manner, what exactly are we trying to communicate? In a very simple manner. In what is the story, I am also answering who are we reaching out to, which basically is our target audience. Because our message needs to be in line with whom are we trying to reach out to to reach out to. Once we are sorted with what is the story, we are able to figure out how to tell that specific story. And how part is wherein we actually wear our storyteller's hat and we actually are creative in our thinking. So now we can do whatever interesting idea that we can actually think of to communicate that very basic, factually correct manner. Because, hey, we agreed upon it because we discussed it that yes, there is a larger audience base, but we need to cut through that clutter. And the only way to do it is when you have an interesting story to share, when you do it in a very engaging, immersive manner. Going back to what Pratik sir was mentioning, if 6 seconds or 5 seconds is an attention span that a human being has today, which is, by the way, less than a goldfish, like we usually joke upon, it is critical for us to actually make sure that they are inclined towards whatever that we are showing to them in those 5 seconds. And we can only do it if you do it in a creative manner. The third aspect is the 10, which we had just talked about, which is your touch points, which is that if we are very clear about the message and we're very clear about whom we are reaching out to, and we have a very nice story to share, we can then accordingly decide how will we be sharing that specific message, where all are we going to be sharing that message. Again, if you know that your brand is catering to a very young audience base, you would want to engage on a platform like an Instagram, because that's where the younger audience base is present. You would want to make sure that you are engaging with these influencers that we usually call, because these influencers actually are influencing the younger audience base there. They look up to them, the younger audience, they follow them, they see what they're doing, and they try to replicate whatever that they're doing. So it makes sense to maybe engage with them, again, depending on who your audience is. And that's how we can decide where all we can share our story. This is a very simple exercise, again, for us to do it as we go about it. I'm going to play a video here. We will not just watch the video and appreciate what this brand, which is Wendy's, has done, but we will look at, if you will see on the top, I have mentioned the 3 questions that we were just talking about. So you will look at those 3 questions while looking at the video and subconsciously see if we are able to answer each of these 3 questions while watching the video. Here's the video.
Let's now talk Fortnite, shall we? It's the newest video game craze, spreading fast among kids, college kids, even celebrities.
Kids are nuts for this Fortnite.
Fortnite has taken over the gaming world, becoming the most streamed game on Twitch ever. But brands have left out of the action, either tweeting from the sidelines or paying big bucks for in-game sponsorships. So when Fortnite announced a new event called Food Fight between Team Pizza and Team Burger, Wendy's saw an organic way-in. We found out Team Burger stored their beef in freezers. And Wendy's doesn't do frozen beef. So we got on Twitch, chose a character with red hair and pigtails, dropped into the game, and instead of killing other players, we started destroying burger freezers. Again and again and again, for 9 hours straight. We also declared our mission on Twitter, sending hundreds of thousands of gamers to Twitch to watch us play. And soon other players stopped killing each other and started killing burger freezers with us.
Hey, Wendy's, dude, let's go!
Top Twitch streamers took notice.
I saw Wendy's stream over here, dude. Oh, you smacking the diverse freezers? This shit's lit. Dude, this kind of stuff keeps the game fresh.
Wendy's really pushing the fact that they have fresh, never frozen beef patties inside Fortnite.
Thank you so much for coming to the stream, Wendy.
News outlets were talking about it. Even Twitch posted a highlight reel of Wendy's best freezer kills. Then, our own competitors showed us some respect.
I'm a boss, I'm a dog, I'm a perk. But a first, while I twerk, I wear all white and turn. I make a preacher sweat, we could buy what Jesus was.
But most importantly, the game developers removed the freezers from every burger restaurant, meaning Wendy's had rid Fortnite of frozen beef forever.
I believe you enjoyed this very short case study, and if you would want to kind of go through it more, you can just type in Wendy's burger freezers, or and you will find what more about this particular thing. I believe why it's quite interesting is, and I hope you've answered subconsciously those three questions that are there on top as well. They're very clear about their messaging. What do they stand for, and what is that their business stands for, which is what is the story. How they told the story is in a very, very interesting and a very different manner. Rather than focusing on sharing a video, rather than focusing on influencers, they basically found another way to communicate that, and that was through the game. Twitch is a platform, by the way, that I'm sure a few of us are already familiar with, a platform that gamers use a lot. So it's basically just like any other social media platform, but this was very specific to gamers to actually show their games, and their own community and followers actually then engage with them and have conversations during as they are playing during the field. I believe what's also interesting is that if we have a novel idea, and if the idea is creative and links back to the business objective of a specific line, it can result into a much larger overall conversation for us, which is all earned. So earned basically is with media talking about you, with other influencers starting talking about you on their own, when people actually feel like that's something shareable and something that they would want to talk about because they find it really interesting. And I think that's a very, very good example for us to remember as we move forward, and or as we think, or we talk, or we have discussions around what works for a brand and what doesn't. It's very specific key takeaways. Again, just to keep it simple, I will focus on the ABC of communications or marketing, that we would want to call it. A is analyzing the brand's messaging, which is that we need to be very clear in terms of what our brand stands for. I think one of the common things in all these specific examples that we discussed, and the examples that you would have seen in your own personal with your own personal exposure, is the fact that every brand would want to communicate a very specific thing, but they will do it in a very interesting manner. But we can always make it interesting when we are very clear what exactly are we trying to communicate. Otherwise, we will confuse ourselves, we'll confuse our audience base, and we will basically just waste our resources. The second aspect is that it's good to be very clear about what your message is, be strategic, and come and be creative. But till the time we are not attentive and we are not listening to the conversations and figuring out what is the kind of sentiment that our audience has, we will still fail, or we'll still not be able to do the best, or we'll still not have the right kind of learnings. And that's where all these different listening tools that are out there, some are free, some are paid, all these analytics that we get from social media channels at the back end actually really can be helpful. This third aspect is from a consumer needs perspective. Consumers want you to put their needs first. This was there pre-COVID. It is definitely there right now. Let's just make sure that we do it. So this is an example of how we usually create a brand messaging house. We call it a message house. in public relations terms. It basically has brand name at the top. There is a line which you see in this orangish red color which talks about what does the brand signify. A 30-year-old, 100-year-old rich legacy of innovation and excellence in XYZ field, blah 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 blah. It could be something on the lines of that. From there are very specific pillars that are created which will define what exactly are we going to be communicating through the brand. And in the end what you see are very specific stakeholder or audience based universe that we would want to reach out to as we move forward. We talked about listening. Again, there are multiple tools that are there. This is Sprout. There is Brandwatch, there is Meltwater. There are quite a few tools that a lot of brands are using to kind of have an analysis or understanding of how their audience is reacting, how their competition is reacting, what are the keywords that are basically making sense at the moment, which audience base is the most active during a specific campaign, how do we reach out to the other audience base, sentiment that is there, are there a lot of negativity that we are getting, how do we really counter that, among other things. Consumer needs first, I believe we already know about it. Again, these are just a couple of examples that I felt are quite interesting for us to remember, apart from the ones that we have already seen. And as till the time again we keep on doing it in some way or the other, I believe it definitely is going to be working well for the audience base. So I'll be happy to know your take or answer any specific question. But again, just quickly summarizing, I wanted to touch upon the larger COVID situation and how it has really impacted brands overall, and some key takeaways from there that we need to remember. Keeping in mind those key takeaways, how can we make sure that there is bang on message driven storytelling that comes from our side, which was specifically focused on with the 1-10-100 model and the 3-question framework model, which is what is the story, how are we telling the story, and where are we sharing the story, all with examples. And in the end, I wanted to touch upon the 3 aspects or basics of ABC of communication that we need to focus on if we really want to succeed or even learn from the larger situation, or are better equipped to break down or analyze the campaigns that are being going on around the world and in India, to be better equipped to having conversations or discussions with our peers. So with that, I would like to end my session. But like I said, again, I'll be happy to answer any specific questions, or actually know your take also in this, and learn from all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishank. Participants, if you have any query, you can unmute yourself and speak. As Abhishank sir has said that you can even share your key takeaways from the session. So if anybody is interested, can share their learnings right now with us.
See, it means that we have understood, means that we have understood everything. So
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. So the session was really very informative, and the way it is presented by the resource person is really very, you can say, innovative. The use of various audio, videos, and the content shared, and the way we can communicate. Yes, really. Being a teacher, I learn many things from this lecture, and I want to thank everyone for this very informative and I can say very creative session. Thank you, sir.
thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Any other participant is willing to share their feedback or their key takeaways for the session? Okay, sir, then I'll take the opportunity to thank Prateek sir and Abhishek Babbar sir for taking this wonderful session wherein it was not just theory, but it was more of an amazing combination of videos and live examples. We had a lot of key takeaways from Prateek sir's and Abhishek sir's session. A few would have been the learnings from the advertisements, the one from Kotak 811 app featuring Ranveer Singh, to the comedian and bingo ad, to the Sky Scanner ad, and many more to quote, sir, because the session was full of videos and full of fun learning. So thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this training program. And definitely we would like to implement everything that we have learned for this session in our coming classes and our management sessions. So thank you so much, Prateek sir, and thank you so much, Abhishek sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We will be resuming at 2:30 for the next session. So till 2:30 we have lunch break. Thank you all. Thank you, participants.
It's a lunch break from 1:30 to 2:30. We will resume sharp at 2:30. It would be a session by Dr. Rajendra Nargunkar sir. So we will start sharp at 2:30. So request all the participants to join with the same meeting link again at 2:30.